Oh, I thought you were introducing me. Starting now. Hi, everybody. I'm Gail Stanley with Florida Realty Investments, and today I have Paul McGrone, an inspector who I highly endorse and highly like, and Victoria Hawa, one of my team members. Um, I thought I'd like to have you get to know Paul a little bit from my perspective. So in 2004, he walked into my office and said he was starting a business inspection. I said, I'll give you a shot. And he started doing some inspections for me. Well, not long after that, he inspected a house I owned, and it was an awful inspection. And I told him about it. And to his credit, you know, he was new in the business. He changed his inspection report to go with, along with what I recommended to him. So I think he's amazing because he listens to me. But so it's been since 2004, and we've had a lot of funny stories and things that have happened over the inspections that I've watched him do and Victoria's watched him do. So Paul, do you have any particular funny stories that you want to tell about in this segment for inspections?
Well, there's a lot of them. You know, when you're in this business, you come across different stories. I mean, you and I had an encounter with a crawl space with some snakes, and one thing I've always liked about working with Gail is she's always lighthearted about things. You know, so if I'm reluctant to want to go under a house because of the fear of getting eaten by gigantic snakes, she volunteers to tie a rope to my ankles and drive away to pull me out of the crawl space in a hurry if I need to.
I'm
You
just
know,
trying to be helpful.
it's very thoughtful. I thought it was very thoughtful. But yeah, we've had instances. I've got one story. I don't know if you remember it or not, but I remember it because it was probably not too long after I started to need glasses, right? To where I needed them to read, but then I started to have some vision stuff. So I wear them. I have them on my shirt because I could see the video fine, but when I'm in certain circumstances, I can't see as well. So I always wear them during inspections. Well, right before I got the glasses, I was doing a crawl space, and I was underneath the house, and I'm watching a bunch of things run around underneath the house, and I thought they were lizards because they looked like lizards with my eyes with no glasses on. So when I get out of the house, I come up to the buyers who were going over with the termite guy what was going on, and he's like, the reason you have so many roaches under the house.
Oh my.
There were roaches, and they were running around and crawling all over me, and I thought they were lizards, and I didn't bat an eye.
Ooh,
But
that's
this,
one. I don't want your job.
oh, it can be a little bit trying, but you know what? There's a lot of fun involved with it, and it's been really good to us over the years. And I have a passion for it, so I enjoy it. So there's a lot of funny stories I could tell you about doing them. But there's even more important stories about things that we have found that have actually helped people from making a mistake. And then we have lots of them where I've been involved with you, Gail. And one of the things I like about working with someone like yourself is that if I find something, you kind of give me the green light to help the best I can. And sometimes that even involves off the record. You'll have me go on the side and say, hey, look, you know, and that's what we yearn for is really to provide a service to people that they can trust. And the only way you could do that effectively really is to have a good relationship with all parties, I think.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
So, in particular, I had some really close friends recently who were putting an offer on a house out in Tavares, and you let me know that that neighborhood had a history of sinkholes, and it really saved my friends from having a disaster later. And man, as a realtor, I don't want any of my customers to have a big problem after the closing, but really I don't want my good friends to have a big problem because I'm never going to hear the end of it. So, you know, besides I want for their good. And that's one thing I really appreciate about you, Paul, is you do the research. If you don't know, you go find out. And I've seen inspectors who take 30 minutes to do an inspection, and you go to the degree it needs to be done. And I really appreciate that because I the way I get business is by doing a great job for my customers. They're going to refer me and I'm going to get more business that way. So I want to make sure every one of them is taken care of. And you know how I am. I'm like, you better take care of this person. They're a really good friend of mine.
I'm starting to realize that every time I meet somebody, they're a family member or a really good friend of yours. So I got into the habit of just doing the best every time.
Yeah, it seems like every one of my customers fits in that category.
Well, that's a great thing to have when you have a customer base like that, where you care about the people. It's like a very important part of it. And that neighborhood that you're talking about, I remember it pretty well. And I was fortunate enough to do a house in there where I learned about it, you know, and that was that's a big deal, like for someone in my profession, because believe it or not, in today's environment, people like to blame people for all kinds of things. And if I may not be responsible necessarily in the scope of my work to disclose it, right? But what kind of a human being would I be if I didn't disclose it?
Right.
You know?
You can learn so much from an inspection. So the people who join my team, like Victoria, I ask them to go to 3 to 5 inspections and follow you around, because they're going to learn so much just by listening to what you say. And I tell people, you know, I sound like I know a lot about construction. Well, I don't, but I've heard probably 500 inspections. And Victoria, you can chime in here that it makes a big difference in how you show houses, right?
It does, because I think people think that as a real estate agent, you're just showing the house. But when I got to follow Paul and shadow his work, he was very detailed on explaining this is an electrical panel and this is where you find the name. And also when we're looking at ACs or we're looking at different appliances in the house, he's showing me how to read those panels and what year it's built. And so I never knew those things. You don't learn in real estate school. So Paul is very detailed, and I would definitely recommend him to other buyers as well.
You know, it's funny, Victoria, is I've had people shadow me before, even guys I've tried to train, because when you're in this business a while, like Gail has been in real estate a while, you know, one of the honors of your profession is to be able to teach others. It's an amazing feeling to be able to share what you've learned to help others grow. But I will tell you that I don't know anyone, not one person, I promise you, that had a photographic memory like you. She would just like pick up on things that like were instantaneous. So I'd see her at the next inspection and she'd be like, this is that, and this is this, and this is that. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how do you remember this?
Way to impress him, Victoria.
Yeah, I mean, very impressive to me. It was. Because most of the guys I work with, I mean, I don't want to knock my gender or anything, but we're just not as quick as you ladies are.
Well, I think your work is really exciting, because people just look at the house and they think it's just a house. But when you find the small details and you tell me it's like, that's a double tap inside the electrical panel and that needs a tray underneath the heating. I was like, that's so interesting. So I'm always looking for the things that you teach. And so I think this is valuable information for everybody.
Yes.
It's a fun profession. I learned a lot from Gail over the years. And you know what? There's a lot of people that are out there, but very few that are like you. Gail particularly. The reason I say that is there's only one other person I remember in my life that has ever called me over and say, sit down and read this. You know what I mean? And you're one of them. And it really makes a difference in how you learn, because people are serious about what their criticisms are, but they're kind enough to understand and accept that people are human and make mistakes, and they give them a chance to correct it, which I think is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And since those times when we had very blunt talks, Paul and I have become good friends.
Well, thank you so much all for joining us today on this call. We love working with you, and we were so excited to share you with everybody else that's watching as well.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.